Glad you could be with us here at the Weather Channel. It is time now for the Storm Watch segment, and we will in a couple of minutes tell you a little bit about what's happening in the United States with some severe thunderstorms that have rumbled through the Great Lakes into western parts of the New England area here over the last 12 or so hours. But of course, our first major concern is Hurricane Bonnie. Let's kick off the tropical update by looking at what is happening here in the western Atlantic with our second named storm of the year, and that is Hurricane Bonnie. As of 2 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, latest advisory out of the National Hurricane Center, the center of Bonnie positioned at 165 miles east-northeast of San Salvador Island. If you're plotting, that's 25.0 north, 72.1 west. Top wind speed still at 115 miles an hour. That makes Hurricane Bonnie a Category 3 storm on the Saffir-Simpson scale, and it is moving very slowly northwestward, 5 miles an hour. That's only slightly faster than the average person walks. So we're talking about a very slow-moving storm. Central pressure at 963 millibars. We still have hurricane warnings up for the central Bahamas. Watches in effect, hurricane watches in for the northwestern Bahamas. A little farther to the south, we have tropical storm warnings up for the southeastern Bahamas. And the storm is, again, a very well-developed storm, but very slow-moving hurricane. You can see that over the last few hours, it has really barely budged at all, just a very slow drift to the northwest, barely discernible on our satellite image here. You notice we still have quite a lot of dark red here, and notice the darker red here just on the northeastern side of the center of circulation. One of the Hurricane Hunter planes flying through reported not too long ago that much of the eye wall had dissipated, but there was still some of it on the northeastern side, and that seems to be indicated by the deeper red on the northeastern side of the center of circulation. However, any storm like this will tend to go through pulsations in strength, and the fact that the top wind has not varied at all suggests that we still have a very dangerous storm here out over the western Atlantic, and it is already beginning to have some effects on the southeastern seaboard of the United States in the form of heavy, lots of waves, high surf. In fact, high surf advisories posted from Jupiter Inlet here in Florida all the way up around to Cape Hatteras. So please, if you're vacationing on the southeast coast, please be aware that swimming conditions are not good at all, and certainly surfers, unless you are very experienced, and even then, please be aware that you could be dealing with some very high surf and dangerous riptides in the area. Now, Bonnie is again moving very slowly northwestward. National Hurricane Center is saying that they may have to post hurricane watches somewhere along the southeast coast sometime on Monday if Bonnie continues its current course and speed. So we will let you know if that happens as soon as if it does happen. Now, there are other things going on in the tropics also. Notice this swirl right here coming across the Leeward Islands. Right now, it is being suppressed by the outflow from Hurricane Bonnie, which you can see streaming down over it. However, if it continues here to the westward into the Caribbean, it is possible to come out from under that outflow and might start strengthening on its own. So we'll be definitely watching this as it progresses into the Caribbean. We also have another well-defined swirl here in the eastern Atlantic that is still several days away from the coast, from the western Atlantic though, but we will be watching it carefully. We're still following the swirl. Look at this big massive blow-up of precipitation here into Texas. The remnants of Tropical Storm Charlie still dumping rain in the hill country. Additional flooding is possible. We also still have a hurricane, an intense hurricane in the Pacific. That is Hurricane Howard, with top winds at 125 miles an hour, but fortunately it is only a threat to shipping as it heads away from land. You can see a very well-defined eye here in the center of the storm. We come back into the United States. We've been seeing some showers and thunderstorms rumble across primarily the northern United States. Watch out in the Great Lakes and over into the Plain States for the potential for strong to severe thunderstorms.
Everyone enjoys listening to birds, and now you can bring those happy sounds indoors with the official National Audubon Society singing bird clock. At 12 o'clock, you'll hear the haunting call of the owl. And throughout the day, a different bird will sing its song to chime the hour. You'll hear the familiar robin, the song sparrow, and more. Each bird sound has been authenticated by the National Audubon Society and will help give your child a true appreciation of nature.
Mommy, that's an oriole.
The singing bird clock will look great in any room, and a light sensor keeps your clock from chiming at night. The official National Audubon Society singing bird clock is only $19.99, complete with this certificate of authenticity and full-color book. Call now and you'll also get these full-function binoculars, complete with high-powered optics, absolutely free. Order now.
To order your singing bird clock for only $19.99 plus shipping, call 1-800-527-2112. This exclusive offer is not available.
Crossing the lower Great Lakes. We'll look at that scenario here coming up shortly. First stop, though, the tropics. We'll take a look at the remnants of Charlie, but let's begin with Bonnie, our Category 3 hurricane at 25.2 north and 72.2 west, putting the center of Bonnie 165 miles east-northeast of San Salvador Island in the Bahamas. If that location sounds familiar, it should, because if you were watching yesterday, at this point yesterday morning, it was 180 miles east-northeast of San Salvador Island. So there's been very, very little movement with the storm in the last 24 hours. Top winds remain at 115, higher gusts though. And the movement, general storm movement now northwest at 5, and the pressure has actually come up a little bit during the night to 963 millibars after reaching a minimum of 954 millibars last night for a time. So there's been some fluctuation in intensity, at least as far as the pressure is concerned. Rising pressure would of course indicate slight weakening, but in the recent satellite pictures, Bonnie seems to be pulling back together some and reorganizing just a bit. And the eye wall, by the way, disintegrated for a time, according to the Hurricane Hunter aircraft, but could reform at any point. Here's some changes for you. The tropical storm warnings for the southeast Bahamas have been canceled, but hurricane warnings remain in effect for the central Bahamas and the western Bahamas, including the town of Nassau. No hurricane watches yet east coast of the U.S., but heavy surf advisories remain in effect from Jupiter Inlet to Cape Hatteras. That is, the swells radiating out from Bonnie are already very heavy here. Rip currents and rip tides also are creating problems. Swimmers have already had some rather dangerous events with the rip currents on the east coast. Things are going to get worse. Here's the latest colorized view of Bonnie. No real eye evident at this time. Unlike yesterday when we had a very definitive 20-mile diameter, very visible eye, but right now we don't see it. We still see a little bit of, let's say, a little bit of dry air sweeping on the southwest side, but overall the area, the central dense overcast becoming more symmetrical, and we see very cold cloud tops in here where the center of circulation is located. So it could be that Bonnie is regenerating just a bit. Even so, it's a powerful Category 3 hurricane at this time. Where will Bonnie go? Well, that is still a tremendous question mark. There is a lot of uncertainty because even our newest computer charts, computer guidance suggests a track, for one thing, across Georgia towards Mobile, Alabama. Another computer model keeps it off the east coast of the United States, and there are other computer charts that suggest landfall in the Carolinas sometime late Wednesday and early Thursday. So the bottom line is we'll just have to wait and see, and we urge you to monitor the situation very closely. It's not an imminent threat, but a few days down the road it could become so along the East Coast, especially from central Florida northward. So stay with us. Second tropical storm, tropical story I should say, no longer a tropical storm, is Charlie, or the remnants of Charlie, in the Big Bend area of Texas, producing tremendous rainfall, amounts of 1 foot or so, in some cases overnight around Del Rio, and most of the roads in the city of Del Rio and even outside the city are flooded right now due to rainfall rates of 3 to 5 inches per hour. So it's a tremendously rainy morning in South Texas and a lot of serious problems there. Now back to the tropics here, eastern Atlantic, few disturbances, nothing all that significant, and that disturbance we watched across the islands right here is undergoing northerly shear from the outflow from Hurricane Bonnie. So right now it's not taking any particular or undergoing any organization, let's say. And none is expected to happen very quickly. Hurricane Howard in the Pacific continues to weaken, but still a potent storm, 125-mile-per-hour sustained winds. Howard is headed out to sea. Remnants of Charlie here. Then we go to the northern tier states, and we have a series of rather vigorous summertime systems coming through the northern half of the country. And it's already kicking up some severe thunderstorm activity out in the Dakotas, southern lower Michigan, and northwestern sections of Ohio. And now a new severe thunderstorm warning for Monroe County in western sections of upstate New York. Big storms over Lake Ontario that will be coming into Monroe County right now with large hail, damaging winds, and frequent lightning. 71 Boston. It's 69 in Atlanta, 80 in Brownsville and Miami. Actually, it's going to be a pretty nice day in the south with high pressure dominating as we watch Hurricane Bonnie. Let's go right now out of our satellite picture to the Great Lakes radar and take a look at some heavy storms in Lake.
Residents are keeping an eye on the surf, and we're keeping an eye on the progress of Hurricane Bonnie. A live update plus a look at your weather is next on Weather Center.
Sun is rising. Shine, shine. Looks like a great day.
It's a great day for the comfort and convenience of changing tint Transitions lenses. Indoors, they lighten. Outdoors, they darken. So lightweight plastic Transitions lenses are right in any light. Make the change to Transitions lenses and see for yourself.
It's a great day.
Transitions lenses, right in any light and right for you.
Look, son, I know you're going to Dublin on business, but if you get a chance, will you look up your cousins in Clare?
Well, I'll try.
Yeah, my friend Meg in Galway.
And your great uncle in Cork.
Get the cards when you get there.
Hi, I'm Kevin Lynn.
Noreen Hennessy.
How are you, Donna Colbride?
Hello, Brendan Campbell.
Good morning, everyone. 10 minutes before the top of the hour, you're tuned to Storm Watch. I'm Marshall Seas. A lot of things going on out there. We have Hurricane Bonnie sitting off the southeast coast, about 500 miles from Florida. And we have severe weather this morning that's moved through Michigan, Indiana, now over Ohio, and New York State. Many folks under severe thunderstorm warnings this morning. You'll see those scrolled on your screen, the red screen that you note on the Weather Channel. Meanwhile, I'll try to get to that after we do the tropical briefing for you this morning. Very important that we do that. Let's take a look at Hurricane Bonnie that is still churning about and moving listlessly across out toward the Bahamas, showing very little movement over the last 24 hours, has even weakened a little bit over the last 24 hours. It had a defined eye yesterday that became more indefinable overnight. And there's Bonnie. Bonnie is currently centered at 25.5 north, 72.5 west, about 165 miles northeast of San Salvador Island in the Bahamas. Winds 115 miles per hour. That keeps it as a Category 3 hurricane. It is moving northwest at 5 miles per hour, and its estimated pressure is 963 millibars. Warnings for the central Bahamas, watches for the northwestern Bahamas. Those are hurricane warnings and hurricane watches. The warnings for tropical storms have been discontinued. Those were for the southeastern Bahamas. I want you to know that the tropical storm winds extend out almost 200 miles from this huge storm. It's about 300 miles wide. The hurricane force winds extend about 85 miles out. Now remember, this storm watch is sponsored by Rayovac. And I want you to know that from Jupiter Inlet, Florida to Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, we have heavy surf advisories as Bonnie continues to churn up the Atlantic. What does that mean for you? Well, a lot of vacationers before kids go back to school, and although many are back to school, are sitting on the beaches from Florida northward, and swimming can be dangerous. Swim where there's a lifeguard. Riptides, potential for riptides is incredible, and in North Carolina they're said to be the worst since 1995. 100 rescues yesterday at Atlantic City Beach. 30 rescues yesterday at the beaches off Carolina Beach, North Carolina. So do be careful if you're out there on the beaches. Bonnie continues to churn. Looks like it may be intensifying some. Looks as though it may pick up some speed too as it heads to the northwest. Meanwhile, over Del Rio, Texas, worst flooding in history possible because of the remnants of Charlie. Charlie has dropped incredible amounts of rain. We've had reports of over a foot of rain in some cases. Del Rio, around Uvalde County, Zavala County, Valverde County, all of these counties out in West Texas, very hard hit with Charlie. This indicates how much rain just in the last 24 hours. And that Doppler estimate takes it from about 6 to 8 inches of rain in just the 24-hour period of time. Central Atlantic's in pretty good shape, but I want you to note this. This is another disturbed area that the National Hurricane Center is monitoring closely. Now, currently, it's getting involved in Bonnie's outflow from the north, getting some shear. It's out in the eastern Caribbean. As Bonnie moves northwest, this could intensify, and as it moves across the Caribbean into the western Caribbean and then to the Gulf of Mexico, could affect our forecast along the Gulf of Mexico coastline for the weekend. So monitor the Weather Channel for late breaking news. Meanwhile, another circulation headed off the coast of Africa. We're going to be monitoring that one closely too. Looks very evident that there is a circulation with that one this morning. Hurricane Howard continues to churn out the eastern Atlantic, winds 125 miles per hour, moving away from land. Over the lower 48 states this morning, it has been very active. Severe weather from South Dakota to Ohio into New York State. These can become tornadic. We've had some reports of tornadic activity earlier this morning. Hardest hit right now, northern Ohio. Tremendous lightning strikes here, and hail the size of golf balls and softballs has fallen in these areas.
Hi, this is meteorologist Jim Cantori in Carolina Beach, North Carolina. As Bonnie looms offshore and the track remains uncertain, we're already feeling the impacts. We'll give you a full report next on Weather Center.
This program was sponsored by Rayovac Rechargeable Alkaline.
Batteries. Video games don't just blast through your batteries, they blast through your money. That's why you should arm yours with Rayovac Maximum Alkaline. They pack long-lasting alkaline power but cost less.
How about a little one-on-one?
Rayovac Maximum.
I challenge you to a little one-on-one. Try Rayovac. If you don't think they're as good as the other guys, you get your money back. You can't lose.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on a busy day here at the Weather Channel, both in the tropics and in the upper Midwest, the plains and the Northeast, with severe weather outbreaking this morning and with a hurricane sitting near the Bahamas. And the National Hurricane Center has just announced that Tropical Depression number 4 has formed in the central tropical Atlantic. Let's start out with the tropical update, and as we continue with Storm Watch at 10 minutes before the top of the hour. And as we head for Bonnie, you can see that it is sitting right outside of the Bahama Islands. Now, this puts Bonnie just about 480 miles from Miami, but it's about on the same latitude, which means it's about the same north area, east-west, as Miami is. And that's good for the southeastern Miami on this 6th anniversary of Hurricane Andrew making landfall. It is forecast to continue to drift to the northwest today. To the south, This is an ominous-looking area of disturbed weather also. It's still feeling some effects from Bonnie's outflow. And out here in the central tropical Atlantic, we have Tropical Depression number 4. This could become Danielle as a tropical storm. Right now, Tropical Depression, just named that by the National Hurricane Center. Current coordinates on Hurricane Bonnie. Centered at 25.6 north, 72.4 west, 480 miles east of Miami, Florida. Its winds are 115 miles per hour. That's a Category 3 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson scale. It's moving nearly stationary. It's been hovering between stationary and to the northwest at 5 to 6 miles per hour. Its estimated pressure at 963 millibars. It's up about 17 millibars from yesterday, but it is forecast to still strengthen as it moves to the northwest, even though that may be very slowly. Here are your wind profiles. The tropical storm force winds extend out 200 miles from the center of circulation. You can see that that already is probably affecting the central Bahamas. Hurricane force winds extend out 85 miles. This is a very wide storm, nearly 300 miles in width. And we have hurricane warnings in effect for the central Bahamas, and for the northwestern Bahamas, we have hurricane watches. The southeastern Bahamas, which were under tropical storm warnings, those have been canceled as it is no longer an influence on those islands. We expect heavy rain for the central Bahamas, probably 3 to 5 inches of rain as rain bands move through, and seas 2 to 4 feet above normal. This is your heavy surf advisory. It extends now from Jupiter Inlet, Florida to Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. Biggest threat from this are riptides right now. We could see some very heavy swells down in Florida and along the southeast coast, and riptides are carrying off swimmers and making lifeguard rescues the order of the day. Over 100 of them near the Atlantic City beaches, and at Carolina Beach yesterday, 30 lifeguard-assisted rescues. There's Bonnie, majestic and ominous, spinning north of the Bahamas. Good outflow from Bonnie here, and you can see its proximity to the Bahamas and to Florida. Now, we go to the Caribbean. This is the other area that could continue to organize. Currently showing no signs of organization in the next 24 hours, however, but it gets out of Bonnie's influence and it could rapidly organize. Here's Tropical Depression number 4. Looks pretty impressive already, doesn't it? You can see the circulation that was evident this morning as it moved off the coast of Africa. This could be Tropical Storm Danielle pretty soon, so the National Hurricane Center has got its eyes on this one as well. Meanwhile, the remnants of Tropical Storm Charlie still creating horrible conditions out in Del Rio. The worst flooding ever for the Del Rio area, and the rain continues to come down. Probably another half a foot of rain today. All the roads underwater around Del Rio earlier this morning. Massive flooding conditions. Valverde County, Real, Comal, Uvalde, Zavala, all the western counties of Texas out near the Rio Grande. Serious situation. There have been some deaths attributed to people that have tried to drive through some low-lying areas, too. We still have Hurricane Howard, still a very strong hurricane as well out in the Pacific, moving away from land right now. Pretty discernible eye feature, too. Upper Midwest. We have a tornado warning currently right around the metropolitan area of Waterloo, Iowa. Black Hawk County. It's been moving very, very slowly, about 3 miles per hour. Be on the alert to that if you live in this area. These are the lightning strikes. Ohio, New York, all of this area under severe thunderstorm watches. That through early this evening. You want to stay posted to the Weather Channel all day today.
Hurricane Bonnie has residents along the Atlantic coast bracing for the worst. Where is it headed and when could it make landfall? Be prepared. Watch Weather Center next.
Hey, you think Mom would like some soap for her birthday?
She wants a baseball glove, Tim.
Mom's never played ball.